I am back with Patty to discuss the latest week of Little Brother. Dazed HOH ends messy just like the one before it. Patty, how'd you feel about this past week? Although I feel like the comments are sometimes more messier than the game, but the comments on the videos from the players themselves sometimes they get a little spicy.
Yeah, and I noticed that you even put a disclaimer on the other night that you'll delete comments, any kind of
Yeah, when they talk
rhetoric
about the
between.
future, that doesn't happen. I can't keep that in the comment.
Yeah, no, I get that 100%, and that's what I was kind of hinting at. Um, I don't know. It's kind of funny watching comments.
Why do you think? I mean, you played these games before, and I feel like you took them to heart sometimes too. Why do players take them so personal sometimes?
What the comments in the social media feed?
Well, just the game in general.
Oh, it hurts to hear what you don't want to hear, right?
Yeah,
It's like watching this game and what we were saying last week. It was like this whole game that you played the best of. It's like you don't want to hear the stuff that you are guilty of. It's just a horrible thing to come in contact with. It's just this whole coming to Jesus moment, and everybody being washed up in the game doesn't want to hear their faults, right? It's
yeah.
and my wife is just like she's totally just fucking pecking me the whole time about my game. So I don't like hearing that criticism. Why would anybody else want to hear it?
True, true.
Yeah.
Well, we have to go on to criticize people now, though.
Yeah, and I've been trying to keep it clean. I've been trying to keep it nice. I've been trying to keep it Christian, so the holier than thou DeLeon can ride that shit out, and Nav can be pissed off at everybody else. I
What?
fucking hate DeLeon.
I know. Were you surprised Nav's getting so passionate about something?
It's nice to see less vegetarian, more warrior, more Sasquatch. It's nice to see that actually.
So let's get to your best and worst of the week.
Oh, the best. Um, there. I'm like so confused about this, and it's not me just trying to skirt out on and shield my response or just shirk my responsibilities. Um, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think Alex had a good week. With kind of just playing under the radar. Although he has drawn attention to himself.
Yeah. Once
Um,
he used the veto.
yeah. I don't think anybody's having a good week, to be honest with you. I just think you have to prioritize them and just triage the bullshit out of the group. So
True.
I'm really trying to think about hard, very difficult to think about who had an up week this week.
I can see
So
that.
it, I even saw you guys talking earlier. It was just like it was so messy. It was weird for me this week.
Well, who had the worst week?
Who had the worst week? Obviously, Aspen had a shitty week.
She certainly did.
She her her elimination last night was so boring. I actually kind of fell asleep during the noms and the but my wife tapped me on the shoulder. She's like, she actually took it like a champ, and it was admirable how she just kind of fell through last week.
She did.
Date,
I mean, I feel like to her it's always been a game. So, but also though, I feel like her karma kind of came back to her this past week when she came into that chat and was talking shit about Didi and didn't realize Didi was even there.
that was terrible. Can I ask you, like, for example, Leanna was caught cheating this week, right? With
Hmm.
the everything else. Why? I'm just curious because she's like, so it was solidified that she was cheating. Is that correct? It
Yes.
was it. So how can you like? For me, cheating and lying are so tightly associated. It's just like I can't even take this shit seriously anymore. But sincerely, how can you build your reputation on integrity and being honest the whole time, then just get busted cheating with your pants down? That's disgusting to me.
Well,
That was the ultimate down for this week, and I do like Leanna to a certain extent. Um, Yeah, but this week was bad for her. That was the ultimate down. And I can't remember the last time watching through all the footage. Has anybody has been caught that cold? Just just has anybody been caught like that?
No.
And she's causing me to have like stuttering issues, and I've never had stuttering issues. And like my brain right now is so fried from catching her with her fucking dick hanging out. It's I can't even talk right now. I still think I'm having a stroke.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then I know she says she doesn't want to have this reputation for as a cheater, but like, if you don't want to have the reputation, then you shouldn't do it in the first place.
Yeah, and how can somebody possibly live this down? It's like everybody talks about integrity, everybody talks about not cheating, everybody talks about being honest, and just to have this blow up right in the middle of everything this week is it's a huge mental hang up for me. So I'm gonna pull this shit back in and go zen. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I kind of want to do something different this week. I just kind of want to talk about just everybody's games in general at this point. You said nobody's up this week, so maybe you'll have a lot to say about why they're down.
You just you ask the right questions, and like I said last week, everything's so confusing for us. And like I said, it's like, don't you ever sit back and scratch your head and say, what the fuck? And this week was another one of those moments for me. So,
A lot of this game was it's been so chaotic that
and to be honest with you, I've been hanging around Italians since like last Saturday. So if I talk with my hands, I totally apologize.
welcome, join the club.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you have any other thoughts on Aspen? She went home this week. She had the karma. You said she took it like a champ, which she did in the end. But I feel like at that point, she knew she was toast.
Okay, so like I'm gonna reel it back in. Me and my wife discussed this. It was an easy pick for Aspen this week. I think Dave's kind of wasted
He did.
his vote. He could have took out bigger fish. That obviously Leanna getting pulled off by Alex would kind of fuck up his game, but I still think he could have took higher collateral damage. Maybe took Meg out. Delion was I named him as the secondary choice or the secondary threat last week, so that's logical. Aspen was just an easy pick. The rotten fruit on the tree syndrome.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, it was just a mishmash this week that I'm still fucked up about it, and I watched it 12 hours ago.
I do. We'll talk about Days later, but like I do feel like Days getting out Aspen on his HOH does really nothing for him, and I think people in the comments agree as well. So
And we felt the same way in this household as well. We're sitting in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and we're just like, dude, this was just such easy pickings. It was just so off for us. It's just like everything that happened with Days' HOH this week. He kind of was like, and I know you and Q had talked about it being meticulous. Like he kind of was sloppy with it and everything else. I fucking don't know. This week is just so off for me.
well, how about Deleon? He survived the week. He was on the block next to Aspen, and he knew he had the numbers next to Aspen, which is what he kind of wanted.
Good for him. And I was actually watching him, and he took a totally different tone this week, with everything. And I was glad he was able to give it back. You know, when they were starting to tighten the screws on his ass, he's just like cocking off, true to Deleon style. It was just, it was a combination, to be honest with you, and I'm not lying. It was just being starstruck, just recycling the same shit over and over, and just having to chew it again and just work forward. That's how it was for me.
Why do you think Nav hates him?
Nav even said last night it's the holier than thou thing, right? I just don't understand where this whole righteousness thing and this virtuosity type just attack on this is. Um, I'm seeing a lot of the passion that Dillion had, or I'm sorry, Nav had, um, when he lost his challenge last week with the 38-minute challenge. and to see just that hatred going towards Delion, which I still don't understand. If you want to elaborate on that, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think and Days probably feels the same way about Dillian. Sometimes in the big chats when everybody's together, sometimes Dillian can, take over a conversation or be the loudest person, and I feel like that maybe gets on their nerves after a while.
So that being said, and I've been compared to Delion a couple times. I just think that I would be rubbing people's nerves the wrong way as well in these high tension situations. But
It would depend
uh,
how loud you are, maybe.
uh, I'm. Am I really that loud? I'm just more.
I wouldn't call you loud, but I feel like
Uh,
sometimes when you want to get a point across, maybe you can
yeah,
be chatty.
yeah, and that's just part of me being a Gemini, right? I guess.
Yeah.
But this whole week for me was just like flushing a toilet and seeing where everything goes down.
Well, let's talk about Monet because honestly, if anybody's not down, I feel like it might be her.
No, it was fascinating to watch Monet this week because she actually kind of went into if she gets caught lying in the middle of her stride, she does this little smile thing. So she was just outlining things that we already knew, and it was just like still 2 weeks in a row. I just don't understand how she can escape that messy HOH she had a couple weeks ago.
She has. I don't
Eh,
think anybody's talking about it anymore with Mike on again.
which is really scary because are people noticing in her body language and the direction she moves in when she talks? Because it's just like she gave everybody the outlining for the future situation. So anybody who's going to play with her in the future, watch her body language.
But as for this game, though, do you think it's just because everybody else is playing so chaotic that it's easier for her to go under the radar now? Because since her HOH, so much has happened since then.
I think Leanna was also taking some of the flack too, with her being the number two. So I think where Monet kind of just shit the bed, Leanna was there to pick it up. It's such a close proximity. It's the confusion there is just it's astounding to me. It's like they're all feeding off each other. They're all parasitic. They're they're just so confusing. I don't know. I like this is genuinely the first time in months that I've been just totally fucking speechless with the performance of these people.
In a bad way?
It's a good and a bad way. It's just like I try to hop in front of them and get ahead of them, and I can't. I just watch them. It's so polarized. It's either they're so fucking boring they make me want to fall asleep, or they're exciting where I fuck I don't know. I need to pop some fucking pre-energy workout stuff and just try to get ahead of them. And it's been sloppy for me this way around as well.
Yeah, I do think that a lot of the players just overplay at times, and while the other people are kind of good at falling under the radar. So it's a combination of those two types of players this season.
And it's not even nice. It's there's no in between here, dude. I don't know. It's still Jello from last week. Still oatmeal, sifting through the dog shit and the fucking strawberries and the bananas.
How about Meg this week? She, similar to Monet, Meg was getting all this flack last week, and now thanks to Days, Meg gets a little bit of repeat on his HOH.
Which is funny as to me because like last week I said Meg and Leanna are probably two of Dave's biggest threats, and him giving her the opportunity to do the power veto was just I think was sloppy. I wouldn't even give that to her at this point. Which, nothing against Meg. It's I would have never gave her I would have never gave her that courtesy to fight herself out of that. And to me, Meg is a bigger gem than Aspen will ever be. And I'll put that on record.
A bigger what?
A bigger gem, a bigger target, a bigger trophy. Aspen, like I said, it's like Alex, and no knocking down Alex. It's just fuck. Eh, that would have been easy, but like GD said, or whoever said that, Aspen get a couple of power vetoes or whatever, win a couple contests, get slide to the finish. I just didn't see that ambition. I didn't see that want, that hunger, that lust this time around.
I could agree with that.
Yeah, it was just I don't fucking know, man. This is this is weird to me.
Well, let's go to Days next then, since you keep bringing up his HOH. I do feel like Days who, let's face it, Days wanted to. He says he doesn't. I think he said something in the comments to disagree with me, that he wasn't playing this safe, and that his overthinking wasn't necessarily bad, or maybe Alex said in the comments. But I feel like Days, if he came into this HOH like wanting to be honest, but also not wanting to get a bunch of blood on his hand and not wanting to have his own target, but like he's saying 5 different people's names. I just don't see how this even goes together. If you're trying to play it safe, and if you don't have a target, why are you saying 5 different players' names?
Which is weird to me because last night we were watching Dazed and Fanguy attack Alex. I'm like, that's probably the worst thing you could do, especially if you have a messy HOH, because Alex is gonna remember this stuff. And like I said, the kid's a snake, great player, great social game. You don't think he's gonna remember this next week when especially if one of his allies, his close allies, takes takes the HOH. And them putting him out was not favorable for either one of those 2 games.
Yeah, it wasn't. That was another messiness going on between.
And you drag Leanna, Dazed, Fanguy, fucking Deleon, everybody, even fucking Meg and D into this mess. I wouldn't even want that. I wouldn't want that kind of mess. It's like shitting in a washing machine right now and just waiting to see if your whites come out white. It's never gonna happen.
Day said in the comments he wanted Deleon out, but do you think he went about that the right way this week?
Do I think he went the right way with getting Deleon out?
I mean, it
Absolutely
wasn't
not.
not putting Aspen against him. It wasn't the right way.
And you think about it, putting Aspen down was just so just tactically easy. It was like she was like the dog that's 14 years old, put him out. Deleon was the AKC prize puppy and best in show everything. That's the guy I would have took out. But I don't even know how it got to that point. It was just so. What was the vote with Aspen versus Deleon? What was the
It was
final
four to
count?
three.
Okay, so it was close enough, but it not. And for Deleon to escape that after going this little butt nutty this week.
I mean, Days is also saying in the comments that Liana wasn't one of his targets, but I think she was one of his targets. He said it enough in his confessionals that he wanted to break up the thing of Liana, Monet, and Deleon. I just don't know which way Days could have went with this, because he knew Monet had a power and Monet was going to come off the block either way. But I
But
kind of feel
he worked so hard selling against it though. He
like, what
worked
do you
so
mean?
hard. Like he told everybody she didn't have a switch of vote, and he was just saying she had one. So for him to sell that was just messy for me as well.
Yeah, he's so convinced that she doesn't have 2 powers, which is something Monet did well, is playing it off like she only had one, I guess. But
And I can't even recreate her little thing where she looks off to the side and blows out smoke. It's just frivolous at this point.
I guess maybe if Days doesn't nom Monet, and I don't know how to get out of this, because Alex winning the veto kind of throws a wrench in everything. But I could see if maybe he just nominates Leanna and Delian off the bat, and then Monet has to save one of them, and then he hopes one of them stay on the block. But who
But
knows what Alex would have done with the veto?
it didn't even happen with that. It didn't even happen with that. And one of the highlights of the week was when Days was kind of like reading the sins against everybody, and Deleon stepped in and said, "What's the point? You know, why are you bringing this up?" And it was fantastic for Deleon to step in and just say, "You know what? Fuck you," basically, in the
Yeah,
whole Aaron on me. Yeah, to watch that happen, and Days is like a lot like me, and it's like you have to be right. And he's reading the like just all the charges against everybody, and Deleon's just like, no, I'm not having any of this. Don't waste my time.
yeah.
So I don't know. From a social perspective, this has just been a fucking butt nutty week, and I don't even know how to fucking manage this. I've been checking my blood pressure. I've been checking my blood sugar, making sure I'm not having a stroke this week because it's just been fucking weird.
Well, how about Dee Dee? She's usually a social player. How did you feel about her week?
Dee Dee, she
She got in an
she had a,
argument with Leanna.
and for her, not only for her to catch that up and get caught up in Leanna's argument, for her to sit there and watch Meg and Aspen just go crazy and get her caught up. Fuck, and her reaction to that, just drinking the water and just shutting her mouth, was classic, and she deserves to win this whole championship thing just off the bat, just for her conduct. This is where I would fuck up again. I would be like shitting off my mouth and be like, "What you say?" She
Would have
just
said
sat
it
there
too
like a
soon.
yeah. She sat there like a pro and just digested everything, and she was able to process it and use it for her benefit this week to a certain extent.
Do you think her getting caught up with Leanna is like a negative for her though, since she like fan guy walked in on it?
Uh, for Dee Dee or Aspen,
Well, for Dee Dee when she was arguing with Leanna.
I is it just the tit for tat thing for them arguing? I didn't see any major consequences this week. It was just two birds going at each other and chicken fighting and showing off everything because Leanna was playing scared this week with Alex backing her up. So this was Dee Dee's time to be fearless, right? And play with no fear.
How about fan guy? Do you like his puffer fish strategy?
Ah, he did this again this week, which was fantastic. Um, I think he's just caught in the middle. I still don't think he's washed up. He's just caught in the middle, and it is what it is. It's such a laissez-faire week this week, even though some things happened. Was there a lot of collateral damage? Do you assess? I don't.
I think Aspen was the collateral damage, but she was the easy target too.
Yeah, and I think Fanguy got away with a lot of stuff that, there was a lot of finger pointing and a lot of things with Alex and Dazed and Nav. There was nothing on the radar this week that just stood out to us. Is there anything that stood out to you, wife? With Daz or Dazed, Nav, anything Fanguy? It was just pretty much basic, right? Just
I like how Days was just straightforward on how he wanted to do things. He told every single person what he was doing, and I think that's how they all should be. Just fucking be straight up.
okay. So my wife is saying she admires Dazed straightforwardness this week, but
He was
it was
straightforward.
it was straightforward, but it's just like everybody being caught up in it. It was messy for me. I just don't understand.
Do you think the guys should work together after they found out about the Women's Alliance?
Absolutely not, because it doesn't matter. Dazed and Fanguy and Nav, they're all playing for themselves. So is Alex. There's no guys alliance. I just think everybody's still tap dancing at this point, and like I said last week, everybody's like realizing that they have to start winning contests, right? I just still think everybody's running soft, and this is disgusting to me.
You feel the same way about Nav?
Nav, he's still baseline for me. It's just like a lot like you, a little bit up, but basically he has his temper tantrums.
Well, you talked about her at the beginning, but what about Leanna's week?
Other than her being caught cheating this week, fuck, is there anything else? Because you can't scream honesty and not lying and get caught cheating with your dick hanging out. I can't with her. This is why I'm like just so callous this week. I don't get it.
I mean, she's the one person who's not playing. I mean, like soft.
She's doing a lot of blowback. She's doing a lot of collateral damage. She's doing a lot of fog of war. So is she really playing as hard as everybody's giving credit for? Really? It's just she's causing the mess, and everybody else has to clean it up.
But I mean, she's in that position, I guess, of leading the mess.
And she even claimed hard this week that she's going to win the next HOH. Is that something that's going to happen?
Well, no, because she didn't win against Alex at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it's like she claimed to be HOH and running hard, but it's I don't know. This week's been just such a mind bender for me.
Well, the last person's Alex. You got anything on him?
God damn it! I like his game. I like how he's able to just vape on camera and just fuck all of you. It's
I mean, he keeps wiggling through everybody now that he's not the target anymore.
But he did take a hard stand this week when Days and Fanguy were
He did.
piling up on him, and he's just like, "No, this is not how it's going on." So he was able to kind of vocalize in front of the group that it's not going down like this, but I think it was Meg or D who had spoke out. It's like we already know how Alex is. He's a liar. So his little posturing in front of everybody else, I don't know how much weight it has, especially going into the next week.
Well, there's only 4 people that could win this next HOH. It will be either Fanguy, Meg, Alex, or DeLeon.
Is next week double eliminations?
Not quite, but we're getting close.
No.
Who do you think will win the family feud between those 4 people? Fanguy, Meg, DeLeon, Alex?
I'm going to say it's either going to be between Fanguy and Alex.
So if Fanguy wins, Alex might be in trouble. I think anybody else wins, Alex might weasel out again.
Is Days gonna get backdoored this next week, or is he gonna? Are the people who play in the HOH is gonna come back and get him? I'm just.
How do you think it went for Days? Do you think he set himself up good, or do you think he has set himself up to be backdoored?
I think he set himself up to be backdoored. You have DeLeon, you have Leanna, you have fucking Alex, you have Meg, you have a lot of people, even Fanguy. A lot of people going against him this upcoming week.
If DeLeon wins, I do think Days would probably be a target.
I think he would totally get roached if DeLeon wins HOH next week. That's how it's going to happen.
Well, any final thoughts in your oatmeal brain this week?
No, I don't. I'm sick of eating oatmeal. I want to eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch for fuck's sake.